What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This. This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we begin talking about yet another subclass of the Ranger, and that is the Horizon Walker, the one that looks to protect the world, maybe just protect your small little part of the world from extraplanar threats. Really cool theming, but is it any good? We'll just have to find that out. But before we do, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As you can see, most people who watch this channel are not subscribed, so please don't be one of those people. Help us to reach our goal of 4,000 by the end of this year. I think we can do it, but of course I need your help in order to get there. Then of course make sure you click the bell so that you're notified when new videos are uploaded, and share the video with your friends. So what is a Horizon Walker Ranger? These Rangers are really looking beyond, looking towards the multiverse, right? And looking to protect your part of the world or your part of the planet, whatever it happens to be. But also you know how to make allies in those that are from around the multiverse, those who are looking to do the world good. So there's a lot that you can do with a character like this. Basically the flavor that you can put on this is absolutely limitless, and so I love seeing the creative things that that people can come up with on something like this. But is it any good mechanically? Let's find out. Starting off, as always, we have our expanded spell list. Well, by as always, I mean pretty much everything that isn't from the PHB or Fizzband's book, but all the other Rangers, of course, do get an expanded spell list, and this one is no different. So with Horizon Walker Magic, we get a few extra spells here, and I'm just going to tell you, these spells are awesome. Protection from Evil and Good is a spell that you hear talked about a lot, but people don't really talk about how good it can be. It's not bad. It's actually a pretty good spell. But then you've got Misty Step, Haste, Banishment, and Teleportation Circle. Come on. We're looking at a teleportation and bamfing, I guess for lack of a better term, type of subclass here. And all those spells are amazing. I think the internet would kind of go crazy if I gave this spell list less than a 10 out of 10. These are all amazing spells. They fit the theme amazingly well. Come on, what's better than a ranger? A ranger with haste, right? A ranger with Misty Step. We've talked about how amazing rangers are with Misty Step before. I'll put that up in the iCard above. I mean, and it's just awesome, right? I think that all of these are fantastic. You can't go wrong with this spell list. Also at level 3, we get Detect Portal, and it does pretty much exactly what you'd expect it to. So you can just use an action and you can tell where a portal is, if there is one, within a mile of you. Of course, that means that it goes to a different plane because it does say planar portal, but I mean, still. And of course, once we use this feature, then we cannot do so until we take a short or long rest. This feature is super situational. Your DM is basically going to have something forcefully placed into your campaign in order for this to work. And so for me, it's just so pigeonholed. I don't know. Like, I don't think there's a whole lot really to talk about with this, right? You can tell where a portal is, right? And either there is one or there isn't one. And I think it's really going to come up to whether or not this is relevant in your campaign. If you're not dealing with something that has to do with like extraplanar threats or whatever, you may never use this. So this is one of those features that may not come up at all in a given campaign. And that kind of sucks if you took this having an entire feature that's not really going to do anything. So for that reason, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 10. I just don't think that it's good. It's going to be super situational, and so you may end up using this if your DM forces something, but it's definitely not something that's going to come up anywhere near what I would say is often. Our last level 3 feature is called Planar Warrior, and this is a little bit more applicable than Detect Portal. It's actually a lot more applicable. So as a bonus action on our turn, we can choose a creature that is within 30 feet of us, and the next time that we hit that creature on this turn with a weapon attack, all damage dealt on that attack becomes force damage, and the creature takes an additional 1d8 force damage from that attack. And this will scale up to 2d8 at level 11. This is really good, actually. So there's a lot here, right? Number one, we are, as a bonus action, just doing this for free, right? That means that this is not something that is concentration based. So that means that we can cast Hunter's Mark on the first turn. If the creature's still around, or if we moved it after that, then this is what we use our bonus action for. And it stacks, because this is not concentration. This has nothing to do with that. So they stack together, which is really good. But even more so is that you no longer have an issue with non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or even just bludgeoning, piercing, slashing at all. You have force damage that's coming off of your weapon, regardless of the weapon you're using. So again, this works both in melee and at range. It just says next time you hit the creature with an attack. That's really, really good, and will allow you to get around a lot of resistances that normally it would take you a lot longer to get over, or maybe you'd have to get a magical weapon. You don't have to worry about any of that with this. So that skips a lot of steps, and the extra D8 is not bad. It's better than your typical Hunter's Mark is going to be, but this is better with Hunter's Mark rather than being used instead of Hunter's Mark, because they stack on top of each other. So that's a lot of extra damage, really. You know, you got 1d6 plus 1d8, and eventually 1d6 plus 2d8. That's really good, actually. I love this. This is a 10 out of 10. I mean, this is fantastic. It's just a really good feature. Dealing force damage is almost never going to be resisted. It gets you around a lot of really common resistances that you see on other weapon users. It's just going to be incredibly useful all the time. At level 7, we get Ethereal Step, and this gives us a really broken spell, especially at this level. We now get the ability to, as a bonus action, cast the Etherealness spell. That's a 7th level spell, and that is absolutely huge without expending a spell slot, not that we had one anyway, but the spell ends at the end of your current turn, and we can do that once per rest. This feature was almost incredibly busted because you're getting a 7th level spell here as a ranger, which you would never have gotten otherwise, right? However, there is an issue in that it only lasts for 1 round. The Etherealness spell is really cool, and it is really nice when you have the full duration. This is a spell that could be potentially game breaking, depending on what you do. Just allowing you to be in the ethereal plane and just kind of doing some crazy stuff. But when you only have 1 round to do it, I feel like it's just super tricky to make it as useful as what it should be. I don't know. I just feel like the 1 round limitation is really, really tough, even for such a high level spell. So for that reason, I don't think that this feature is all that insane. I think that the 1 round is super limiting. Yes, you'll be able to find situations where this works out for you, and it will definitely come up. I'm not saying it won't come up at all, but it is limiting in that way. So for that reason, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. It will come up, you will use it, it will be really cool, but it's not going to be this insane thing that it would otherwise if our duration was a lot longer. At level 11, we get Distant Strike, and this allows us to be even more difficult to pin down. So with this, before we make an attack on our turn, we can actually teleport up to 10 feet away, and that's pretty cool. So with this, we also can take an extra attack as long as we attacked more than 1 creature on our turn. So, attack 1 creature, extra attack another. We could attack a 3rd creature as part of that attack action if we have attacked more than 1 creature already. So let's take a look at this, right? I think this feature is interesting, and it definitely has its merits, and here's why. Let's say that you are in a tough situation, you have been restrained, you have been grappled, you've been put into this weird situation that is limiting your movement. You can just ignore it. There's no verbal, there's no somatic, there's no components to this. You're saying, I'm taking the attack action, therefore I'm teleporting 10 feet away. and you're gonna auto escape whatever that was taking over you. That's very valuable. I see a lot of value in that. I don't necessarily see the distance of 10 feet being what makes a huge difference. If creatures are all standing next to each other, then, you know, maybe you will avoid an attack of opportunity, maybe, but I don't know. I don't see that as the real use case here. Is it busted strong? I don't think so, but there definitely is a case that can be made for this. And it can definitely help you to put yourself in a better position. You know, if somebody's trying to push you off a cliff, you just switch places and go on the other side and then push them off a cliff, right? It just stuff like that. There are these little interactions that could come up that I think will definitely help. But ultimately, it's not busted. I'm going to give this another 7 out of 10. I think that it's pretty decent, right? I don't think that this is a bad feature, and it definitely will come up, right? Getting a third attack on your action is good, but that's very dependent on enemy positioning. And so it's not always going to work out in your favor. So for that reason, I can't really give it anything higher than that. Finally, level 15, we get Spectral Defense, and we get to channel the power of the cosmos to come and protect us in our time of need. And that's pretty cool. So with this, whenever we take damage from an attack, we can use our reaction to give ourselves resistance to all damage from that attack on this turn. Now, I think that they worded this funny, and I think that they should have been a little bit more clear, right? It says you give yourself resistance to all of that attack's damage on this turn. So that means it is only this attack, meaning it's not a multi-attack or extra attack type of thing. It only works for the one attack. But then why specify on this turn? I don't know, because for you to say this attack on this turn seems to indicate that you at one point were going to say all damage on this turn, and then you just kind of forgot. It's kind of weird, right? But the way that it's written just says for that one attack. That's still really good, right? You could still definitely have your life saved on this. This is essentially uncanny dodge. That's basically what this is. That's not a bad thing though. Uncanny dodge is great. However, you know, Rogue's got that at level, what, 5? So it's very late to be getting something like this, but it's still quite good. Burn your reaction. There's no limit on how many times that you can use this. It's still good, right? I still can't give this a low score. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. It's a great defensive feature. Rangers would love to have it, just as Rogues do love having it as well. So there's really nothing wrong with this. So how does the subclass come together as a cohesive kit? This one's interesting. I really like the flavor of this kit, and it's got a lot of features that are either really good or just kind of right? But ultimately, when you look at this as a complete package, I do feel like there's a lot of potential here. Outside of Detect Portal, which is whatever, outside of that, you've got a pretty solid kit here, right? Just based on Planar Warrior and the spell list alone, that is a very, very big advantage to have here right off the bat, because then you can Hunter's Mark on the first turn, attach that to a creature, and then start wailing on it and blow your bonus action on subsequent turns to convert everything to force damage and deal extra damage. It's a pretty simple system. It's easy, but it's very effective at the same time, and it scales well to 2d8 at a level 11. That's fine. I think that that's really, really great. I do hate that it's only one attack. I wish it was every attack, but you know, you do what you do what you got to do, right? It's fine. But still, this is quite good, and it's very strong, especially on the front end. The Etherealness spell, it might work out sometimes, it might not work out others. It's just kind of rough on, you've only got 6 seconds to do what you got to do with it, so you've got to be really quick with it. Distant Strike will have its times of working out, but it's not going to be something that's going to come up all the time. But Spectral Defense is great. I really don't see a whole lot of a downside for that. So basically, this is kind of hovering in the 8 or 9 range for me. It's really, really good. Definitely not busted. Definitely not Gloomstalker range. And so I have to look at my prior Rangers that I have ranked already and kind of compare to see what I did there and kind of see how I'm feeling with this, right? So obviously in this range is my Fey Wanderer that I talked about, and that of course is going to be up in the iCard above for you. So how do I feel about this versus the Fey Wanderer? Do I think it is as good as the Fey Wanderer? I don't know. They're close, right? That spell list is really, really good. And Planar Warrior is also quite good. So it's really hard. I do think that it's really close. But as a kit, I think Fey Wanderer just barely beats it out. So I think I've got to give this an 8 out of 10. It's really good, but I just don't think it's quite to the level of the Fey Wanderer, although I do think that it's close. It's kind of like an 8.5, right? I think it's good, but I don't think it's quite to that level yet, to where I would call that as good or almost as good right there. I think it's just right below, unfortunately. So what do you think of my ranking? Do you think I'm too low, too high? What do you think? I think it's a really cool subclass. I think it's got a lot going for it. It's a lot of fun. A couple things that I would love to be a little bit better, but ultimately it's not bad. So we're going to be building one of those later this week, and I hope you guys are looking forward to that. Make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss that. And until next time, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.